Welcome to a brand new study experience. Today, we are bringing together the clarity of modern graphic design with the true heart of a Sabbath school teacher. Our theme is Sabbath School Alive, and our core mission is perfectly captured right there in the subtitle, all for the glory of God. If you are ready for a deep, everyday spiritual audit of your life, you are exactly in the right place. Let's get into it. Here is our agenda for today. We've got 6 vital modules pulled straight from the Apostle Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. Knowledge versus true love, the power of self-denial, learning from past failures, fleeing from modern idols, all for God's glory, and finally, our key lessons learned. Module 1, Knowledge versus True Love, the danger of spiritual pride. To give you a little context, back in the ancient, bustling city of Corinth around 55 AD, social life basically revolved around pagan temples. Early believers were debating, quite intensely actually, whether it was okay to eat meat that had been offered to idols. To settle this, Paul drops this incredible scriptural anchor in 1 Corinthians 8 verse 1. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. He's taking direct aim at spiritual pride here, showing us that a cold, rule-heavy orthodoxy without any deep compassion is essentially behavioral heresy. And this brilliantly illustrates the tension going on in the early church. On the left side, you've got gnosis, intellectual knowledge. Some believers knew idols were fake, so they flaunted their freedom, eating whatever they wanted and totally inflating their own egos. But on the right side, there's agape, selfless divine love. Paul is arguing that true theology isn't about proving you're right. It is all about practicing the selfless love of Christ and actually building up the church. So I want you to think about this for a second. The church is a hospital for sinners, right? Not some elite academy for inflexible debaters. In what everyday situations can our correct knowledge, devoid of love, cause true harm to a weaker believer? When we use our flawless lifestyle, our health principles, or our deep prophetic knowledge as a weapon to belittle someone with a simpler faith, well, we actually become a stumbling block. Module 2, the power of self-denial, yielding our rights. You see, the Corinthians were absolutely obsessed with status, public recognition, and constantly demanding their personal rights, which was tearing their community apart. But Paul backed up his teaching with his actual life. In 1 Corinthians 9:19, he says, "For though I am free from all, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win more of them." He voluntarily gave up his legitimate apostolic rights to financial support. He worked as a tent maker just so he wouldn't burden them. He traded his rights for their salvation. Which brings us to this question. How can we sacrifice some of our acquired rights for the unity and well-being of others? In our modern lives, our wounded pride often masquerades as a defense of the truth or zeal for principles. But true Christian freedom isn't about demanding what we're owed. It's the voluntary capacity to set those rights aside out of unconditional love for a brother or sister. The real practical application here is that contemplating Jesus on a daily basis is literally the only way to melt our stubborn egos. When we look at his silence at Calvary and his patience in Gethsemane, it births this genuinely courteous, gentle Christianity inside us, one that is infinitely more effective at transforming hearts than 1,000 theological arguments. Moving into Module 3, Learning from Past Failures, the Danger of Complacency. The church in Corinth was suffering from a massive case of spiritual overconfidence. They really needed a reality check. Paul uses the Israelites in the wilderness as a direct warning. Despite having immense divine privileges, they still fell into idolatry. But 1 Corinthians 10:13 gives us this incredible hope. God is faithful. When you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. He promises us an unbreakable escape route for literally every temptation we face. Reflect on your own human frailty for a second. How can we transform our past failures into strength against modern immorality? We often fall into sin not because the temptation is some invincible force, but because we try to resist it using our own human strength. Or worse, because we secretly cherish the sin and refuse to take the exit door the Holy Spirit has so clearly lit up for us. The daily life application for this is highly practical. We have to actively choose faithfulness by setting firm, intentional boundaries around our time and our influences. Taking the escape route means physically hitting the power button, walking away from toxic conversations or gossip, and choosing absolute dependence on Christ through communion every single morning. Module 4, Fleeing from Modern Idols, the Ultimate Spiritual Audit. Our hypersexualized consumerist society is actually a perfect mirror of those ancient pagan temples in Corinth. That is why in 1 Corinthians 10:14,
Paul is incredibly blunt. Therefore, my dear friends, flee from idolatry. Notice the urgency there. He doesn't say to casually walk away or try to tolerate the sin. He uses the Greek word fugo, flee. You have to escape as if your very life depends on it, because spiritually speaking, it absolutely does.
So, what modern idols are we secretly consuming on our digital feeds today? Today's idols aren't usually carved out of wood or stone. The golden calves of our generation are the glowing screens of our phones, our bank accounts, unbridled career ambition, and that constant, nagging need for social media validation. I strongly urge you to take this to heart. We need to conduct a radical spiritual audit of our digital consumption and entertainment. That might mean uninstalling apps that drag you down, canceling streaming subscriptions that glorify modern paganism or spiritualism, and completely dedicating your senses to God to protect your mind. Module 5. All for God's glory. The ultimate filter. Remember the tragic failure of the rich young ruler in the Gospels? That happened because he kept the external rules but totally missed the point of selfless love. Unlike him, our highest calling is found in 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. This magnificent verse is the absolute, ultimate filter for our lives. Doing something simply because it's lawful just isn't enough if it doesn't build up your neighbor and honor your Creator. Doing everything for God's glory is rooted in the Greek word doxa, which connects to the Hebrew concept of kabod. It implies weight, substance. It means that our earthly, everyday actions, what we eat, how we spend our money, how we treat our families, must carry the substantial, visible weight of Christ's selfless character right in front of a broken world. Ask yourself this critical question. Are you filtering every daily decision through the lens of God's glory and love for your neighbor? Is your lifestyle truly drawing your family and coworkers closer to the cross? True happiness isn't found in hoarding wealth or exercising limitless freedom. It's found in emptying ourselves to become channels of God's grace. Module 6, 5 Key Lessons Learned, the Masterclass Recap. Let's lock in these 5 concrete steps we've covered today. 1. Renounce religious pride and elitism. 2. Voluntarily yield your rights and embody grace. 3. Recognize your frailty and always take the escape route God provides during temptation. 4. Do a radical audit of your life and flee from modern digital idols. And 5. Completely surrender your will to the Lord today, filtering absolutely everything through His glory. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Examine your heart right now. What hidden idol do you need to surrender today to live fully for the glory of God? Do not let the deceptive, flashing lights of this passing world steal the place that belongs exclusively to your Creator. Surrender your life completely to the Master today. Imitate His tender character and decide right now to live every single second, all for the glory of God.